What's going on, YouTube? Ledger here once again. This time I should give us some more Genshin Impact, and there's something that I wanted to talk about, something that I wanted to get off my chest. One thing that the Genshin Impact community does that kind of frustrates me a bit is this whole idea of what is unrealistic and what is unattainable for free-to-plays and low spenders. I feel that the community has it very wrong as what exactly is unrealistic. And because I see it all the time. I'll see people saying, oh, I'm AR-58 and I can't beat Abyss. Oh, I'm AR-57, I can't beat Abyss. And this person can beat it because they're a whale and they this and that and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And that's just, it's wrong, right? I feel that people need to understand what they're capable of and what they can work on in order to achieve something better. If you're somebody that doesn't really care about Abyss, then that's fine, whatever. But as long as it's that, as long as it's that you don't care. But if you're actually trying and you're not succeeding and you're blaming on this and that, I want to try and help your mindset and help you understand what you can do, right? So we need to ask ourselves what actually is unrealistic, because a lot of times I see people do showcases and so on and so forth, and people will say, oh, like I saw a showcase where somebody used, a C0 Raiden with, Kazuha, Bennett, and Mona, right? And, they did some decent damage and whatever, and somebody in the comments said, that's unrealistic. You're misleading people and telling them Raiden can do all this damage when you're really doing, damage per screenshot, And here's the thing, guys. Like, that's one thing I wanted to kind of combat, this damage per screenshot business, right? Damage per screenshot, people started saying that around the time when Eula came out, where people were building Eula with like no crit rate and a whole bunch of crit damage, stacking crit damage and doing all this stuff so they can just get that one, screenshot with this massive damage, right? And I feel like that term has been just turned into something else to where it's like damage screenshot now is just a character that can just do a lot of damage now, and like regardless of how good the character's build is, right? And that's just not right, because that's not damage screenshot. Sometimes it's just a good team comp, right? So that Raiden, that was not a damage per screenshot. They just were playing hyper carry Raiden. And that's something that you should maybe take note of. Can you not beat Abyss? Maybe you should try and focus more supports on the main DPS, right? Maybe that's what you should do. It's not that Bennett is a cheat code. Bennett is a good support, It's not that Mona is a cheat code. Mona is a good support, So you need to think about these things, right? And also, too, what really is unrealistic when you're looking at a C6 unit, Giga Whale unit versus just a well-invested unit, right? A lot of times people will see a unit that's like maybe C1, maybe C2, not really much difference from C0 or just C0 unit, and they'll say, oh, that's unrealistic, you can't expect a free-to-play to do that, and so on and so forth. Not necessarily. If it's like a Eula hitting 2 million damage, yeah, that's unrealistic. You can't do that. I'm sorry. That's not within your reality, right? But if we're talking about, like, if you see a Eula hitting, 500k, you're like, oh, my Eula can't do that. That's unrealistic. No, your Eula can't do that. A C0 Eula is capable of doing that kind of damage. And now you need to just understand, all right, well, when I'm using my Eula, and I'm using her solo and she only does 150 damage, start to think, all right, well, what is it then? Is it the weapon? Or is it my team comp? Am I using Superconduct? Is that person using Bennett? Am I using Bennett? Am I using Rosaria to lower physical resistance? And do I have Rosaria that can do that? You start thinking, like, what is this person doing to enable to do that? Because sometimes it's really just the investment you have in the character, or your character could be someone invested in, and you're just not putting them in a team that's gonna benefit them. You gotta ask yourself these things. You gotta understand too, what's the difference between that person's character and your character in terms of what certain constitutions can do. Like, for example, if somebody says they're riding a C1, that's not really increasing that person's damage. So, think about that too. I think that's one of the problem with the Genshin community a lot of times. They don't really think about, what is under the hood when it comes to some of these things, right? And then there's like the whole thing of like what really is the benefit of low spender versus free to play and so on and so forth. When you see people spend any type of money, you think, oh, that's unattainable, I can't do that. So unless you're a giggle whale, spending money, all that's doing is that's just speeding up the process of what you can do, right? So honestly, when it comes to things like this, I think it's just important to just really ask yourself, like, how? When you see big damage, when you see people beating Abyss, and so on and so forth, you just ask yourself, how? How are they doing that? And why can I do that, right? You got to look at what your teams are. You know, you got to look at the investment in your units. Do you have the right artifact set on? Do you have the right main stats on the artifact set? You know, do you have good team comps, you know, things like that, you know, or do you have your talents leveled up too, you know, like those things you got to just really check on and look at, because like there's too many people that honestly, they don't know how to play the game. They don't know what they're doing, and that's okay. How to play the game doesn't magically pop into your head, but you just have to understand that sometimes it's time to learn and understand of like what to do versus just dismissing everything and saying, hey, that's unattainable, that's unrealistic, I can't do that because this person spent $10. No, that's just not how it works, all right? But yeah, I mean, if beating the Abyss and doing these type of things is within your plans and it's what you want to be able to do, you'll be able to rest in the game, you know, just ask yourself those questions, all right? And think twice before you start saying that something's unrealistic or something is unattainable, all right? But that's just kind of what I wanted to just get out there and let people know. Hopefully that is helpful to some of you guys, you know. Let me know if that does help you out. Like the video if you like the content, and subscribe to the channel if you want to, subscribe if you want more content like this. And with that, I'll end it there. Legend out.